Okay.
Yes.
Okay. All right. I think निकाल लेते हैं. ठीक है. Assalamu alaikum, Nazrin. Welcome our viewers. And I'm just going to do a little test. Am I going live, Osi?
Yes.
That's fine?
Yes.
Okay. Today we will discuss 4 areas of conflict. And one is China. China stands after the major war equipment parade on September 3rd, where they displayed the latest weapons. How they are reacting after that with Taiwan and the US. And here we will discuss some escalatory steps which China has taken. Escalatory steps means moving closer to conflict. Second one, we will discuss Russia, Ukraine, and Poland. Here also, Russia has moved kinetically escalated as well as verbally escalated versus another country. वो भी हम करेंगे. Thirdly, we will discuss the effect on South Asia, especially Pakistan and India, of any conflict or confrontation coming out of Taiwan, China-Taiwan US issue, and the Russia. And especially we'll discuss here also what that means in terms of confrontation. An escalation over there translates also an escalation in South Asia, because India is not American defense partner. Now, this means Pakistan needs to get prepared for it. Okay. Secondly, American tone has gone harsher with India economically. So we will discuss that. And last but not least, we'll also discuss in detail the Israeli attack on Qatar. Well, Qatar is a small country, also the host of the American CENTCOM military command in Al Udeid Air Base. In spite of the fact that the Americans are sitting there, they are supposed to be under protection of Americans, Israelis came in and bombed the hell out of diplomatic enclave residents. So is anybody safe? They've spent tens of billions on aircrafts and defense systems. Looks like none of them saw them coming. Now, on top of that, we'll talk about what exactly Israel's impact is in all this, the next steps. And looks like it may affect us too. So we will talk about these. But before we get into that, I want to bring to your attention 2 items. One is quantum computers status. And secondly, the acquisition of HQ-19 anti-missile systems and HQ-29, in addition to the HQ-9 we have. Now, this will, in one go, I will try and explain to you the differences between the 3 and what it provides Pakistan. But first, let me go into the quantum computers. Recent reports, as your podcast manager, I subscribe to a online intelligence online. They yesterday posted something which caught my eye, and what they said, there's a company in China called Turing Q. Turing was a guy who invented in England the first computer, and he used that to break the code of the Germans. And it was called the Enigma code, which allowed the Allies to know every step the Nazis did and to neutralize it. Now, this company called Turing Q has delivered secretly the first photonic quantum computers to the People Liberation Army's PLA cyber force. Although while the company's official website offers cloud platforms and other stuff, but this recent step is a huge step. Now, let me try and give you a background. Well, okay, quantum computers, quantum mechanics, I've read it and all that. No. If the country which has a working, viable quantum computers, for example, if Chinese have it, they can hack all of NATO, all of UK, all of Germany, all of USA, their command, everything sector in under 2 microseconds, all the data. And they don't have to be connected online. This thing can go through the wires into your computers and get all that data. So this is huge. Its key ramifications are going like an earthquake through the defense establishments of the West. I did try to post it and advertise it, but the believability factor is low. So I will say, please do your research on it, and you'll understand the implications of quantum computers. Secondly, Chinese operate on a fiber link all the way internally through Pakistan, Pindi, GHQ, all the way to Gwadar on fiber link. And we have been a beneficiary of getting fiber. With this and communication to satellites, Chinese and hopefully us, Pakistani communications are impregnable if we go to quantum encryption. So we will know what the enemy is doing, and we will not know what we are saying or what we are doing. So it's a huge development. Or how did they find out this one? There was a gentleman who delivered this thing to the PLA headquarters. And that's how they came to know about it. And after looking at it quite carefully, and all the crypto analysis and accelerated description and intercept data, which the Chinese have been doing for the last years, this was a natural step. But we won't know the exact extensive till we get into a serious confrontation. Anyway, so this takes care of that one issue, which is the second area I want to get into is Pakistan already has an HQ-9, and you know, it's a missile interceptor. HQ-9 is designed for low altitude, short-range terminal defense against tactical, ballistic, and aircraft. However, the BrahMos missiles got through. Not all of them, but about 10% of them. It is comparable to the Russian S-400 and the American Patriot system, MIM 104. It's widely used in China as well as in Pakistan now. What we are going the next step is the HQ-19, the high altitude interception. The role of this one is a high altitude interceptor for medium and intermediate range missiles. This also uses kinetic energy interception. It's similar to the US THAAD, but more advanced than that. And finally, what we are getting is the HQ-29. This is a mid-course eco-atmospheric interception. This fills the gap between low-altitude defense and strategic high-altitude interception, capable of engaging targets in the atmosphere, which is 1 lakh kilometers se upar. It can also intercept any ballistic missile Akash trying to get off the ground, boom. It can take any Agni getting off the ground, boom. So they're plastered before they even get into above the atmosphere. And they're similar to the US SM-3 and Russian S-500, but actually it's a far more than that. This is a satellite killer. Features large diameter canisters, dual mode missile configuration to increase the interception odd, and strategic impacts. This basically completes the complete layer of Pakistan and the rest in terms of interception. So we are getting ready for a confrontation, which hopefully will happen in the near future. And I should say should not happen, but I don't think we can avoid that. However, now we want to move on to the main start. What is happening with China? China, America was desperate to have talk to the USA, and the USA was not taking their calls. But finally, USA did take their call, and they talked to each other. Anyway. In this particular one, American Defense Secretary had a conversation with the U.S. Defense Secretary Hagsworth, and they basically, Hagsworth said, we do not intend having a war with China, and we just have legitimate interests which we will defend. And the Chinese basically coming from what Xi had said, okay, you have to make a choice between peace or war. So the Americans apparently blinked and they wanted a peace and not war. So they're basically on a de-escalatory ladder, Americans. I think they're trying to focus inwards in their south, in their backyard. And looks like this may be scaling down. So their commitment to what typically is called in this area where China operates in the Burma, Philippines, Americans will be moving beyond the second chain, and China will have most of this area to themselves. Now, China has moved the next step into the shoals, Scarborough Shoals. These are some small islands close to north of the Philippines, somewhere here, and south of Taiwan, in this area. And what it does is they've declared them an ecological zone, which basically fundamentally says that if anybody comes in there, disturbs the peace, Chinese will use force to evict them. So Chinese have basically taken a escalatory step there. At the same time, Chinese did podcast in there. Anyway, so that's escalatory steps. What does it mean? It means that China has a conflict over Taiwan. Now this will start with a blockade of Taiwan, and then it will escalate into probably capitulation of Taiwan, or fundamentally Chinese will come in and physically take over. But in that case, what they will have to guard against, and that is India coming in from the southern boundary. Try and get on the WhatsApp channel, my WhatsApp channel, our podcast channel. Okay, so I can look at it. I've saved some articles. Okay. Anyway, so that means we have to get ready for an Indian who's buying hundreds of BrahMos missiles to have our defenses ready. Now, one thing I will tell you at this stage, is, and we will deal in another one, Pakistan will be getting J-35s. The most likely, we don't know the exact number, and I think it's good not to declare the exact number. But since all the F-16 pilots are there in training, so my guess is they're going to replace the Mirages and the F-16s at the same go. So that means more than 40, probably less than 160. So whichever the case is, even 40 is a very huge number. Israel has about a 40 or 60 or so. But look at them. They are just running around terrorizing everybody. All the Arabs are basically, and the Iranians are, even Turkey is keeping quiet. And the only one who spoke up was Pakistan. We'll be getting to that also. All right. So we are getting ready for the Indians and coming up with the J-35, the HQ-9, 19, and 29 defense systems. And I think our Air Vice Marshal of Operations made this clear, and I will let that go at that. The last time India, it was 6-0. This time, if you do something, it'll be 60-0. Now, I don't think they're making an ideal boast. I think they can probably go beyond that too. Anyway, let's go on the Russia-Ukraine front. Well, Russians apparently they had about 10 drones and they kind of went inside Poland. And I think it just basically shook them up, entire Poland, NATO, that they actually crossed over. So they say, what was funny there is, these guys got so, and all those 10 drones were the Shahid drones, the ones which are designed as Iranian. So there's something to remember. Iranians made a pretty damn good drone, which even the Russians are still using. Okay. All these drones were shot down over Poland by NATO aircraft, not just Polish aircraft, but NATO aircraft, and the Patriot defense missiles and the THAAD shield. So they took down 10 of them, probably costing around $10,000-$15,000 totally, and they spent $100 to $200 million worth of missiles on it. Not a good economic figure. But what did it do? I think it shook up the NATO personnel. Most of them were going pretty much. Now, I'll share what President Trump said, and then we can go and put it in context with what the NATO has done. Trump suggested the airspace incursion may have been accidental. Okay. It could have been a mistake, he said, while he was departing the White House. It could have been a mistake, but regardless, I'm not happy about anything having to do with their whole situation. Hopefully, it's going to come to an end. So what he's saying is, Lalo, Surakar, when you have to make peace, come to Delhi, both of you. Earlier, President reacted to a degree of amusement that what's with Russia violating Poland airspace with drones? I mean, you want to violate airspace, they can do it with Orishnik missiles, they can do it with their Su-35, they don't really, or they can do the Su-57. Using a couple of $100 drone is not a good way. And they said, here we go again with NATO and the Europeans. Now, Poland, NATO is a part of NATO. Now, what they did is the invoking article would be Humpe, Sare NATO member mein karo. They went one step below that, which is called Article 4. It's a principle that on one attack is on what will have. Article 4 treaty states that any member country can formally bring an issue to the attention of NATO, principal decision maker body, the North Atlantic Council, to meet and discuss the next steps, which they already did. It should not be confused with Article 5, cornerstone of the alliance states armed attack on one will be considered an act of violence against all the rest. So this is what is the reaction of NATO. Okay. So fundamentally, NATO is on edge. On top of that, the Russians and Belarusians are starting a military exercise very close to the Polish border. I mean, these exercises can turn into a full all-out attack in a second. And I think most of the equipment of the Europeans is sitting in Ukraine. So they may not have a lot of extra equipment lying around. So it's a good move. That is fine with them, but there is something else going on. The Americans are penalizing India for buying Russian oil. They used to buy 2% of their deals from there, but right now they're over 30%, more or less clearing house for the Russians. Americans are not happy about it. Their Treasury Secretary, Mr. Lutnick, had a very strong statement. We are going to sort out India. Now, this is a word used for a third world country, not what Indians imagine themselves to be, the $1 trillion, fourth largest emerging superpower or anything else. Well, the Chinese bhi nahi mante, Americans bhi nahi mante. He used the word, we are going to sort out India. You know, India basically has to open their market, has to stop buying Russian oil. So they're buying it, refining it, and then selling it to the rest of the world, making a bundle. So President Trump called nonsense on that and said, you've got to stop that stuff. So I think India will sort it out once they stop buying Russian oil. So Americans are getting very harsh with them. They can go to the next step and cut off all their call centers, tax all their remittances. Where will India be? I think they will get into, have to adjust themselves. And probably that's one of the reasons Modi didn't want to antagonize Americans, that he didn't attend that war drill on equipment parade on September 3rd in China. On top of that, didn't want to piss off Japan because it had an anti-Japanese tone to the whole thing. Anyway, so that's two. Now, lastly, we come to the Israeli attack on Qatar. This is pretty interesting, very interesting, because in this, after the attack, they attacked an American ally who has an American base in Doha and attacked them in broad daylight with 10 aircraft, bombed the hell out of the residential diplomatic enclave, where they were having their delegation there, which was conducting the peace negotiations with Israel on Gaza. So, what does it mean if you are negotiating peace with Israel? Watch out because they're going to kill you. Does it mean that you stop making peace with Israel? Or with, for that matter, Americans? So it's kind of a what? Now, Netanyahu comes up with a statement that anybody who's harboring a terrorist, no matter where they are, we will come and kill them and we're going to come and get them. So if they are sitting in Afghanistan, they're going to come for them. If they're going to be sitting in Uzbekistan, they're going to come for them. If they're performing Hajj in Makkah, will they come for them? I don't know the answer. Anyway, well, most of them are quiet, Arab world. However, Our ambassador, UN, took Israel to task. The Israeli ambassador also took us to task. He said, what about the time the Americans came after Osama bin Laden? There is a precedent. So we have a right to come, as Americans did. Nobody made noise about that. He says Americans attacked Afghanistan and Pakistan. Remember, he didn't say Afghanistan. He said and Pakistan. Because there are a lot of drone strikes going on around here. And nobody said anything about that. So there is a definite task to us. Now, my own stance would be, I think they're Muslims and we need to stay with them and all the rest. But we have a very big enemy, which is sitting right with us, who does not like to see us exist. Okay? India. I think let's handle that first before we go in the चौथे मल्ले जाके फड़ा पाने की जरूरत है अपना एक साइड पे सेटल कर लो. We have a lot with the Kashmiris, a lot of zone there. I mean, let's focus on that. But anyway, Panga we have done. Dushmani is there. Now, what does that mean? Israel can collaborate with India to attack. Oh, of course. All the intellectuals say, oh, no, this can't happen. I mean, ये तो हो नहीं सकता. But during Ziaul Haq's time, they actually had Israeli planes sitting, taxing of India to attack Pakistan, but Pakistan said, "हम तुम्हारी बीन बुझा देंगे." And they backed off. So right now, we have to, after this Takra at the United Nations, we have to get very careful of the nexus between Israel and India. So far, Israel has supported India with bomb, guns, and missiles and electronic warfare. If they start collaborating militarily, we'll have to plan for that also. And that means we have to do something on our Western front. And that Western front, Israelis have to cross Qatar on the way. And you can see that big red circle there. The whole thing for us will revolve whether Iran or Israel fight or otherwise will revolve around that Straits of Hormuz, Qatar, and Oman. And we do have a presence there. I think I've taken a lot of time, and our host Sharbano was probably losing patience with me because she's thinking I'm avoiding her questions, which probably I am because I'm getting scared of her questions nowadays. Sharbano, I'm going to get you on board so you don't get angry with me anymore. Welcome. And nice to meet you again.
Right. So thanks for bringing such clarity to the current issues that are very critical these days. So let's move toward a few questions which I have prepared. So let's start up with the Russia and Poland. So you talked about that the Russian drone incursion into the Poland's airspace. So is it really a mistake, as President Trump suggested, or was it a calculated test of NATO's resolve? What do you think about that?
I think there are two aspects to this. One is Trump as well as Russia says, I mean, how can a couple of drones, $1,000 each, constitute airspace violation? It was a mistake. You guys jammed it, and because of the jamming, those guys didn't know where they were and they went away. Okay, that's fine. But however, if the way Russian drones are programmed, if they get jammed, they continue on to the target now. If they get lost, they're still programmed to continue on to the target. They don't come back and land where they were supposed to be.
Exactly.
These are disposable. So I don't buy the Russian KGB got lost. I would say I give them 30%. But I think they deliberately made these Europeans go into jitters. And basically, if they go into, it's a good strategy because if they go into defensive mode, so they will have their equipment for themselves and not provide Ukraine that.
Hmm.
Oh,
All
yes.
right. So let's come toward Israel and US coordination. So has Israel essentially sidelined the US as a mediator in Gaza conflict? And what does this mean for America's credibility in Middle East?
Well, let's say this. If tomorrow some country stops the Straits of Hormuz, both the Americans and the Chinese say quietly, go for it, Pakistan. Our forces go naval, air, and the rest, and we take the sides of Gulf of Hormuz. Would people say Pakistan has usurped the Chinese and American foreign policy? No. Israel is doing exactly what Americans want them to do. However, the one thing which the Israelis are doing, their timeline, they do it on their own sweet will. So this is a classic case not of the dog wagging the tail, but the tail wagging the dog. So, and attacking an American ally with an American base was an extremely poor taste, I would say. That really did affect the credibility of the Americans, yes. That Americans, when they say we're having a base here, we'll protect you, it doesn't have any meaning. We as Pakistanis have experienced that too in 65 war. When we wanted to raise about two more divisions, impending conflict in 65 with India, the Americans said, don't worry about it. We'll give you 6 divisions worth of diplomacy. Well, the diplomacy they gave us was sanctions. The only country that came to our aid was China. China gave us 60 to 80 MiG-21s, MiG-19s, and they delivered in the Karachi port 1,200 tanks. Now that is, and I was a teenager. Did I appreciate that? I don't think we can ever repay China for that even. That was a huge thing.
Exactly.
So yeah, I would say it's a little bit out of control, I would say. Definitely the tail is wagging the dog.
All
All
right.
yours.
So you also talked about recent Russia and Belarus military drills. So what do these exercises reveal about Moscow's strategy of stretching NATO's attention and resources?
Yeah, they want to make sure that the Europeans don't supply the Ukrainians too close. And secondly, they want to invoke jitters into them. And I think it's a prelude to, by the end of the year, I think the Ukrainian military will begin to collapse. And when that collapse occurs, they don't want these Europeans taking stupid moves. So they're going to remain on the front foot with them. And one front foot is having exercises on their border. So they're worried for themselves and not Ukraine.
So let's move toward a bigger picture. So are we seeing the rise of a world where allies act unilaterally, like Israel against Hamas, Russia in Poland's sky, SCO in Afghanistan, without coordination or restraint?
I think that's why I left this map on board. You could see the grain structure. You remember
Mhm.
we talked about a CENTCOM driven defense system with the
Yes,
meeting in Islamabad with our army chief.
yes, we
That
talked
is
about that.
the anti-terrorist activity will take place. This meeting, an SCO meeting, basically has China and Russia also backing that move also. So in short, any of this BLA stuff, which and any of the TTP stuff has to come to a stop. Any sale of drones to Afghanistan, which comes into Pakistan, has come to a stop. Pakistan has formally said there's 18,000 TTP guys who are starting to has infiltrated or starting to infiltrate from Afghanistan into Pakistan. And I don't think Pakistan is going to take it lying down. I think we are also probably looking at another escalation. Now, Z has already said the priority of safety of their people is paramount. And he had army chief come over there and he told him personally. Also, you remember, Zardari just left for a 10-day trip to China. I know he likes Golgappas, and they had that one guy, President Mamnoon Saab, made Golgappas, but I don't think he's going there for Golgappas.
Exactly.
I think he's going there for serious sweets. And I think we
Definitely.
talked about the serious sweets there are. The SCO countries, Central Asian countries, they are fed up with the Afghani stuff. We are fed up too. And I think it's going to come to a conclusion also. But at the same time, we've got a great India on one side. So the things are moving closer in the escalation level. So the chances of conflict or even unintended conflict are very high. Very, very high.
Exactly. So, are these simultaneous crises? Tell us about the future of U.S. leadership in global security. How does
I
this
think,
tell us?
yeah, I think what you're going to see US focusing on South America and Americas. They're not going to go further out. So it'll be an isolation. They're going to build their defenses, then come back out. Okay. And they will work with some countries like Turkey and Pakistan as pivots. But besides that, they're going to, I think, come back in. So it's probably not good news for Taiwan, probably definitely not good news for India. I think for a lot of Europeans, not good news. But another thing which the Israeli attack shows, and I will bring it up again, the Arabs are geopolitically irrelevant. Nobody gives a rat's ass. They only want the oil, Straits of Hormuz, period. Europeans are geopolitically irrelevant because even Trump is not taking them seriously. So, who have become relevant? Pakistan. Who have become irrelevant? India. So, what we are getting there, or India is just kind of, it's that they're on the slope down. Now, they can try and reassert, do something stupid. They may want to do with some stupid thing with Israel. They may want to do something stupid with Israel, Afghanistan, and India. And I think we have to prepare for all the three possibilities. But we need the J-35s. We need the HQ-19. We need the HQ-29. And we need the HPM-3000, the drone killers. We also need the laser killers. We probably already have acquired the hypersonic anti-naval aspect, naval missiles also. So I'm sure we are going to get bring some sweets from China. And I think we should all wish Zardari Saab the best so he brings goodies home.
Exactly. So, thanks for sharing your thoughts and perspectives on these critical issues. And that's all for today. That wraps up today's discussion. All yours.
Thank you. And thank you very much. And viewers, don't forget to subscribe, like, and press the bell icon so you get notification for the next one. Thank you very much. Thank you, Shahbana.
Hafiz. You're welcome. Allah.
Allah.